Hello students, so today we are going to continue from the central nervous system. So in my last video I explained that the nervous system consists of the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system, and I said that the central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. Now, so this structure you have seen right there consists of the brain and the spinal cord, and this is the forebrain. And in the forebrain, we have three major brain parts in the forebrain. And this includes, for the sake of exam, I will give you shortcut to help you remember anytime you need to provide the content of the forebrain. Now, so the forebrain content include the coth, call it coth. So what does coth means? So coth means the cerebrum. O means olfactory lobe. T means thalamus, and 8 means the hypothalamus. So these are the four major contents of the forebrain: the cerebrum, the olfactory lobes, thalamus, and the hypothalamus. Then we have the midbrain. So the main content of the midbrain is for vision, and that's optic lobes. So optic lobes. While in the in-brain we have three major contents, and this um includes the cerebellum, medulla oblongata, and pons. So these are the three major contents of the in-brain. Now, the next thing is that we are going to talk about the function of each constituent of the brain part. Now, the first one is the cerebrum from the forebrain, and this cerebrum is the site for conscious actions, the site for voluntary actions. So something when you say voluntary actions are things that you do willingly at your will. For example, now I can decide to fold my hand, I can decide to sit down, I can decide to talk, I can decide to squeeze my hand. So all these things are voluntary actions. So the site for conscious actions or voluntary actions is the cerebrum. This also the site for intelligence, memory, and judgment, and etc. like that. So if someone in your class is very, very brilliant, it means that that person has a very well developed cerebrum. Okay. Now the next one is olfactory lobe. Olfactory lobe. Now olfactory lobe function from the name olfactory, that's NASA, something like nose. So it helps to sense smell. So that's the sense of smell. That's olfactory lobe. So this part of the brain controls the sense of smell. Then the next one is thalamus. So thalamus controls the sense of touch. So if someone has an accident now and that person has issue with that person cannot respond to touch again. So that means that the part of the brain that has been affected that time is the thalamus. Then the next one is the hypothalamus. So this controls two or three major parts of the body function, and the first one is the body temperature. So the body temperature is being controlled by the hypothalamus. The sleep is being controlled by the hypothalamus, and also taste. So it's one very like let's say now someone has an accident now, and that person just start feeling excessive thirst or need for water or something like that. So that means that that person is what the part of the brain that have been affected that time is the hypothalamus. And also sometimes like that, when someone has an accident and with like head injury, and that person still starts to have kind of abnormal temperature. So that can also suggest to be the hypothalamus. So these are the four major parts of the forebrain and their functions. Cerebrum controls the voluntary actions, also site for memory, intelligence, and etc. like that. So then olfactory lobe controls the sense of smell. Thalamus controls the sense of touch. While hypothalamus controls sleep, taste, and body temperature. Now, let's quickly move on to the midbrain. So in the midbrain, we have optic lobe from the name optic. So it deals with the sense of sight. So this controls the sense of sight. Now, in the hindbrain, we have three major content in the hindbrain, and this includes the cerebellum, medulla oblongata, and pons. Now, this I want to talk about two for now. So the first one is the cerebellum, and the function of cerebellum is that it controls muscular activities. So like posture, for instance, now. So if someone can actually have a very good control of its muscular or of its muscles, so that person has a well-developed cerebellum. So and also it also controls balance, because there's part of the cerebellum that links to semicircular canal in the ear, so which help us to control balance. So if you see someone that can actually walk on a very tiny on a very tiny road, so that shows that that person has a well-developed cerebellum. So cerebellum controls postures, controls muscle activities, it controls balance. So then the next one is the medulla oblongata. So in secondary school, I'm very sure you're also one of these students as well. I said that, okay, I hope your medulla oblongata is not very correct. So I don't think how that relates to the function of this guy. Now, so medulla function is for site is the site for involuntary action. So things you cannot control, things that beyond your power. You understand? So involuntary action, like what? Like breathing, like digestion, like all of that, all those metabolic processes that happens in the body, so they are being controlled by medulla oblongata. Now, so for the pons, so this is going to be a story for another day. Now, let's move on. So the last part of the central nervous system is spinal cord. The spinal cord. So spinal cord is a site for kind of some reflex action. What's a reflex action? These are action that you only become aware of them after they have already been done. You only become aware of them after they have already been done. So, and since the body need a very quick response, so the impulse for reflex actions doesn't have to go to the brain, because brain may be too far for response. So it goes to the spinal cord and immediately come back to give response to the body. For instance, now let's say you are feeling urge to urinate. So you need a very quick response for it to for you to control and hold the urine so that you don't urinate for your pants. You understand? So this urge to hold your urine comes from your spinal cord. You understand that? Because brain may be too far for it to give the response back. So in a nutshell, we say spinal cord is a site for reflex reflex action. So spinal reflex rather. So the next class we're going to continue from this part. So bye bye for now.